Good morning, Lillian DeFries here with Alive in Healthcare. Are you a nurse? Well, so am I. And I want to talk to you today about mental fitness and how mental fitness is actually a solution to burnout. So to start with, let's just talk about the fact that nurses and their leaders have been experiencing burnout for quite a while now. COVID was not the cause of burnout. COVID just flared things up to the point where now the public is aware of what's going on with nurses. But nurses and leaders and healthcare professionals have been in burnout for years now. This is just the gift of COVID that brings us to the awareness. So let's talk a little bit about what the World Health Organization says. The World Health Organization defines burnout as a syndrome resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. WHO further defines the burnout by 3 dimensions. 1, feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion. 2, increased mental distance from one's job or feelings of negativity or cynicism related to one's job. And 3, reduced professional efficacy. So let's talk a little bit about where we're coming from. Nurses and our leaders, we're all exhausted. We're tired of hearing each other. We're tired of hearing ourselves. We're tired of hearing each other complaining of how unhappy we are at home, at work, how exhausted we are, how nobody cares. And our relationships are strained. Our health is severely in distress. And we feel like we're not being heard. The energy that we have is just, we're in a spinning cycle of burnout. The bottom line is that we feel unheard, we feel unacknowledged, unseen, and unloved. And this is the very essence of humanity. So of course it's to the core, it is really serious. But before we can move on to the solutions of burnout, we really need to understand where burnout comes from. What's the root cause of our burnout? The root cause of burnout is moral injury. Moral injury results in deep psychological damage and mental stress. It occurs when people are taking part in or witnessing actions that conflict with their core beliefs and moral values, such as being asked to do more than humanly possible and sacrificing adequate care for our patients. The result leads to the symptoms of burnout. There are 3 things that we need to address here when dealing with burnout. The very first thing is understanding the history of moral injury. The second is addressing the burnout symptoms. And the third is taking responsibility for our mental fitness. So let's look at those. Understanding the history of moral injury. Let's start there. As nurses, we have a natural ability to go and look after others. We're caring, we're giving, and we give to the point of, putting ourselves last. And actually, now we're at the point where we don't even manage to get to be the last because we don't even get there. We're so exhausted, right? So we're in this place where we've been saying yes all along. We say yes to doing more shifts, to doing doubles, to taking on more patients, to taking on more care, more responsibilities. And this has progressively happened. This is not something that happened overnight. This has happened progressively. And at the same time, we've had financial cutbacks in healthcare. So all of that started to shift things. Where was our responsibility way back to put up our boundaries and to say no? Well, I remember those days. I remember those days of doing double shifts 3 days in a row. And I was young, I was more capable, I loved the money that I was getting, life was really good. But, as you age, as you keep repeating these patterns, these things catch up to us. And then what happens when we've said yes all along? Well, then now there are expectations from our workplace. There are expectations from, what we should be doing and what we have to be doing because we're in survival mode now. So this is a problem where we haven't, put our boundaries down. So this is important to understand how we got to this place. And it's not about shaming us. It's not about saying, why did you do that? It's about looking at that and saying, okay, that was a pattern. How do we break that pattern? How do we shift and learn from that? Not about making us, bad people or I mean, we came from a place of giving. We came from a good place when our intentions were great. But we need to understand that our intentions ended up playing and backfiring on us to this point. So that's number one. The number two was addressing the burnout symptoms. Often with burnout syndromes, we end up with medical errors, we end up with absenteeism, we have a higher turnover. These things happen because of burnout. The interesting part is that nurses and leaders who have been working with me and are in a state of moderate to severe burnout come to me and say, what should I do? Should I change jobs? Should I change professions? How do I handle this? Like, what's my next step? And I say, whoa, hang on a second. This is not a place where you are able to make sound decisions. What you need to do is you need to stop. You need to go back to basics, to the foundation of your health, Foundation 101, which is proper hydration, nourishment, sleep, and breath work. I mean, these are all things that we should be doing properly in the first place. But when you're in burnout, this is all you need to be doing. This is all you need to be focusing on. And this is not to say that, it's the only solution. For some people, we need to get professional help. We need to get some, psychological professional help. And that's okay. It's all right to admit where we are. You're here because of your commitments to your values and your profession. There's no shame. Okay, it's time to accept what is, heal from within, and be gentle on yourself. So addressing the burnout symptoms is a priority before you can shift to anything else. The third thing I talked about was taking responsibility for our mental fitness. Shirzad Chamine, the author and founder of Positive Intelligence, clearly states, mental health is the absence of mental illness, whereas mental fitness is the presence of positive mental habits, regardless of whether you have a mental illness or not. Mental health is a state of mind, while mental fitness is the strength of mind that allows individuals to handle the ups and downs of life with grace, ease, and confidence. So ideally, when we're approaching mental fitness, we're doing it from a preventative approach, right? Just like when you're going to the gym, you're going to the gym to work on your body. It may be about increasing your, the muscle mass and getting healthier and getting more movement in your body. But when we're, physically not well, we may end up having to do a different way of doing things, which is going to a physiotherapist or, altering our exercises, etc. The great thing about mental fitness is not only is it something we do preventative, but it's also something that you can do at any time, which means even when you're in your worst burnout state or in moderate or feeling exhausted, mental fitness can be done and it does not demand a strain on your brain. It is something you can do in a meditative state. You can do it by doing breathing exercises. You can do it by doing tactile exercises. You can do listening, tasting. All these things are mental fitness exercises, but they are something you need to do daily and for a minimum of 15 minutes a day, with progress showing after 6 to 8 weeks of intended, what we call PQ reps, positive intelligence reps. Okay, so this can be done anytime. So wherever you are, whenever you are, when you're in burnout, when you're, going to work, you're sitting in the car, you're about to get out of the car, take 5 minutes to do these PQ reps. Take the time in the bathroom, in the evening, in the bed, there's so many places you can do this. Go for a walk, do mindfulness walking and doing PQ reps at the same time. And I talk more about that in one of my webinars, which you're more than welcome to join. It's a free webinar. And there's a link in my article that you can see how to join the free webinar to get more information on how to do these exercises. But really, research has shown that doing these PQ reps has really helped nurses in particular, in getting their mind in a place where they're able to cope better with stress and changes. So we're not reacting, but we're, making choices in the moment. Okay. So in conclusion, really, burnout is a serious problem, and we can prevent it by valuing each other, by valuing ourselves, by valuing our core beliefs, by valuing our moral values. And workplaces need to start changing to honor what we need as nurses. We should have had these difficult conversations a long time ago, but we didn't, and that's okay. So we move on from here, right? We don't dwell on the past. We say, what is it that we can do today to learn from our past and to move forward? So looking forward to having more discussions around this with you, and make sure that you sign up for the free mental fitness webinar, where you're going to learn more about the science and the methodology behind it, and you'll get to walk away with ways to start this practice for yourself.